I'm sick, so that calls for a 24-hour readathon. Hi besties. I don't know if you guys can tell, but my voice is different. I've been under the weather for about like a couple days and I'm just not feeling good today. So I thought, what better way to commence this day than to just spend it reading. Although I do have some stuff that I need to do at night, so I will be pausing. We're doing this the same way. We're putting a timer on for 24 hours. I'm gonna stop it when I sleep, when I have to do other chores, tasks. But other than that, we're just gonna see how much I can read in 24 hours. This one also is going to be specific. We are going to be reading spooky books because it is spooky season and I feel like I'm just not in that mood right now. Just been under the weather for a couple days. It's still the beginning of October. I feel like I entered the spooky season wrong. I did start reading a book though, and this is the book that basically inspired this video just because I've seen this book everywhere. Everyone's talking about it, everyone's loving it, everyone is loving this book. I don't like to be left out. I have also picked up this book because I started reading Phantasma by Kaylee Smith on my Kindle. I'm not that far into it. I'm about 18% into the book. Not that much has happened. Basically, a lot of people compare it to Caraval and I see why, because in this book, two girls, two sisters, Ophelia and Genevieve, their mom just passed away in the beginning of the book. Her mom was a necromancer, and so when she died, the family legacy was to be passed down to Ophelia, who's the older sister, and Genevieve basically wants nothing to do with the family legacy and any of that stuff. Phantasma is like this basically game that comes around that's like once in a blue moon type, and people used to think it was just a story, but so this year Phantasma has come around, and Phantasma has to do with like these devils and demons, and there's these levels that you need to play, kind of like the Caraval, except this has all the like spookiness to it and it's not just magic. After her mom died, the bank shows up at their big estate and they're like, apparently your mom took out loans and she hasn't paid them back, so you have a month before we seize this property. Yeah, so Ophelia kind of like goes off on Genevieve, and then the next morning Genevieve's like nowhere to be found, and so Ophelia goes into Genevieve's room and she finds a diary, and in the diary she finds a clipping of Phantasma, so she thinks that Genevieve has ran off to Phantasma. So now we're at this point where Ophelia wants to go find her sister, so she goes into Phantasma as well. There's, I think, 9 levels, but you cannot leave the wing that you're in until you pass level 7. She's also encountered like this one guy that he's a phantom, so there's like 4 levels of spirits and phantoms are one of the most like dangerous, so she's kind of wary of that, but she's like, he's so handsome, he's like all of this, and I think he's the creator of it all, and I think he's probably the devil because she keeps mentioning that. I don't even know if I explained this properly. My brain is like pounding and I just want to sit here, possibly read. So I think that's what I'm going to do now. So let us get to our phone and put on a timer for 24 hours. Let's turn on our timer. I'm going to continue reading. I'll update you guys as we get along, as I can speak more. Start. Then I mentioned that basically Ophelia's mom had taught her that there are 2 rules in New Orleans. Rule number 1 is that you are not to look back at the dark. If the dark is watching you, you don't watch the dark back. If you were to break rule number 1, then rule number 2 was that you never make a deal with the devil. I say that because now she's in Phantasma and she met this guy who calls himself Blackwell, the same guy who she was like is so handsome, blah 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 blah, and he's like, I'll help you find your sister, but all I need is a blood bargain. Girl, if you don't use context clues and realize that this man is a devil, all signs lead to him being a devil. Alright, quick little 1.5 hour update. I was gonna give an update like an hour into this, but then my battery ended up dying, so I charged it really quick. I am 30% into the book. This is what? Page 145. This book is really good. We got to, I think, night 3 of Phantasma, and basically the games have 9 levels and the 9 levels revolve around the circles of hell. She keeps running into Blackwell over and over in these games, and she's encountering these spirits and phantom and poltergeists and devils, and her main goal, she doesn't want to make a deal with Blackwell, but she's finding herself to be kind of lost. Yeah, so right now Ophelia's kind of recovering because she got like bit. We're at this point where she's basically considering making a blood deal with Blackwell just because she desperately wants to find her sister, and Blackwell's like, if you keep using your magic here, you're gonna wear yourself out and it's gonna be hard for you to basically win any of the other levels. And at the end of the day, she can't go anywhere to look for her sister until she reaches level 7. I'm liking the book. It's such a like fast read. I feel like easy to zoom through it. And I don't know if that's because I'm on my Kindle or what. It's a really good start to spooky season, so I get why everyone's reading it right now. I'm just gonna go continue my rewatch of Vampire Diaries and continue reading Phantasma while laying in bed. We are about 5 hours into this challenge. I think 5 hours. I am cold, I am sick, and I think I like fell asleep for like an hour in the timer or something, and I just kind of like let it run. I didn't pause it to go back. But I am sick. I am tired. I am already regretting this challenge as I normally do when I do this. I am 50% into Phantasma though, and I need to say that I love Blackwell. I think there's just something so enticing about him, and there's something so addicting about him. I think I'm on like night 3 of Phantasma. Yeah, I finished night 3 and I'm about to go into night 4. These levels that they have to pass are very, very insane. It's giving Squid Game because it's like if you don't pass the level, you die, obviously. But also at the same time, Ophelia's looking for or like she saw like a clue for Gabriel because that's the name that Genevieve, her sister, was looking for, and it was like written in Genevieve's diary. So she's also simultaneously exploring Phantasma because she wants to find her sister, but then she also wants to find clues to like everything else that her sister had written in the diary. And so she's working with Blackwell, and I didn't know that there was spice in here, but Blackwell's insane. I don't really have anything else to say. Can you guys tell that I'm sick? Like my nose is just so stuffy, like it's so gross. But I take medicine, so what I think I'm gonna do now is just continue my rewatch of Vampire Diaries and lay here and read. I'll catch you guys when I have another update. I have about 17 hours left. My plan, my goal is, although it is 3 p.m., I'm going to sit here, and for the rest of the day we are going to run down this clock as much as we can because I want to finish this challenge tomorrow. I don't know if that's possible, but we're gonna try. Still reading Phantasma. I'm 61% into it, so we're pretty decently into the book. I do think I know what I want to pick up after this one. We're gonna go right into that. I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna binge read all these books because I'm not feeling good still, and yeah, this is our goal, this is our plan. I'm on chapter 33 and I have a thought. I love Blackwell, but every time I read like a scene between Blackwell and Ophelia, I'm taken back to like the prologue where I think it's Ophelia, I don't really remember, but I think she's basically telling someone, she's like, you tricked me, and then the person's like laughing, and I swear to God, if that is her conversation with the Blackwell, it better not be, because I'm loving him too much to accept that he is not a good person. 14 and a half hours left. It is 11:30 p.m. We are finishing this challenge tomorrow, even if my life depends on it. And I know that for a fact because I'm going to sit here, and I think I have like an hour and a few left in Phantasma. So I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna finish this. I've gotten into such a good part of the plot. I'm 7 nights in, which means now she can leave her wing. And there's just so much happening. There's so many twists. There's so many things you're finding out about Ophelia, about her family, about her mom, about her dad, about like Blackwell. There's so many things that are being unfolded about the demons and the entire world that we're in. I'm excited to see where this goes. I do know that this is like the standalone of like, I don't want to say standalone, but it's like her story wraps up, I believe, in this book. So there's not really going to be a cliffhanger, I'm hoping, because I don't want a cliffhanger because the second book is not out yet. But I'm thinking that the second book might be on like Genevieve, just how like, you know, all these other fantasy series go. Yeah, I'm at a good point. I'm going to just sit here. I have my rewatch of Vampire Diaries open. I'm just gonna sit here. I'm gonna read. I'll update you guys if anything happens. If not, I'll just see you guys at the end of the book, which should be about an hour and 20 minutes in, maybe. I think I'm 80% into the book. So you guys at an hour, and then I think I know what I want to pick up after. It's also going to be on my Kindle just because I want to get out as much hour time as I can, and right now past midnight all I can do is Kindle because just holding a book is, you know, let us finally get into the zone of finishing this 24-hour challenge. I know it. I know it. I saw it coming. I finished Phantasma. No way. This was so good though. I have 13 hours left. I think as of right now, I'm like staying at a 4.5 for Phantasma just because I ate it up. That was so good, but I think I'm gonna sleep on it and maybe tomorrow I'll talk about it more. Right now it is late in the night. I think I'm gonna start my next book because I want to get a head start. I want to keep this clock running. As I mentioned earlier, we're gonna move on to my next book, which is Frida McFadden's newest release, The Boyfriend. My journey with Frida McFadden, I started with The Locked Door and I didn't like it that much. I thought it was pretty predictable, so I didn't really read anymore. But then I saw everyone talking about The Housemaid, so I read The Locked Door I think like 2.5 years ago, and then I saw everyone talking about The Housemaid all last year and this year, and everyone was saying how they loved The Housemaid, and then the third book had dropped this year. I ended up binge reading that entire trilogy and I loved the first two books. So right now I am a Frida McFadden fan, and I saw that she released a new book. I don't really know too much about it. I do know that it's something about, I don't know, but she, in my opinion, does psychological thrillers like no one else does. What we're gonna do now is start The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden, and then we'll continue it tomorrow. We are finishing this challenge tomorrow. I don't care what anyone says. We are going to be finishing this tomorrow. Let's start reading. Alright, I'm on page 103 of The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. Thought it's time for an update. I have like 12 hours left on my timer. We're just gonna keep it running. I'm gonna speed talk right now and we're gonna see. So basically this book, Sydney is this like chronically single woman, and she has these two best friends, Gretchen and Bonnie, and both of them are in these like stable relationships, and Sydney goes on this date with this guy from a dating app, and she basically is like about to get assaulted, but this mysterious man comes up and saves her, right? And she's like constantly thinking about this mysterious man the whole time. Gretchen is dating the super of their apartment building, who they find kind of creepy anyways, and then Bonnie is dating this really hot doctor that no one knows the name of. They've never met him, they've never seen him, and they like just recently became exclusive. And so that's like the first setting that you get put into. The whole time you also have this other guy whose name is Tom. His chapters are in like the past, so he's talking about when he was 17 in high school and he was dating this girl named Daisy. He wanted to be a doctor. Then he also has these thoughts of like killing people. So you have these two POVs. You're in Sid's POV and you're also in Tom's POV, and it's really interesting because you don't know who Tom is in this like timeline. So now we're 100 pages into the book and Bonnie has just been murdered by someone. They don't know who. Everyone's saying like, oh, maybe it's like the boyfriend that she was dating, maybe it's the super who like, you know, who's kind of creepy, and like no one knows. And I don't know, the whole thing is like confusing. There's a lot of unconnected pieces. The obvious answer seems that it's her boyfriend that would have, but yeah, so that's where I'm at. The whole thing is like just confusing. There's no like definite answers, but I feel like the most obvious answer is obviously the doctor boyfriend, and the doctor boyfriend would have been Tom. This is a Frida McFadden novel. I feel like her plot twist wouldn't be that obvious, and I feel like that wouldn't be like a satisfying plot twist anyway, so I'm hoping that it's not just the doctor. I feel like there has to be like something else going on, and I feel like Tom is a completely different person. From the back of the book it said that Nate's gonna start dating like a really handsome guy, and I feel like it might be the same guy. I don't know. I'm just gonna continue reading now. I think I'll update you guys if anything happens. If not, then when I'm like heavily into the book I'll update you guys. I'm on page 130 or 138, and I have this theory. I'm not gonna say my theory, but I'm just letting you guys know that I have a theory, that I have a thought, that I think I know where the mix-up is, or I think I know what the plot twist might be. 63% into the book. Considering this is a Frida McFadden book, I feel like there's not enough happening. She usually throws in a lot of like loopholes once you're like 30-40% into the book, but this one is just, everyone just has their shady quirks and the plot is just kind of like progressing. Then you're also just not seeing that much of it, but everyone's really shady to me at this point. Like even Sydney is just seeming a bit off. Like the only normal person to me seems like Gretchen, but other than that, like I don't know, like not enough is happening. But then it's also just addictive. Like I'm just going through it because I want to know, but also like nothing's happening. I don't know if that makes sense. Page 244. I knew it. That was one of my many predictions. Okay, there's something really, really sus happening and my mind is just full of theories. So suddenly I'm suspecting someone that I hadn't suspected this entire time throughout the entire book. I don't know if this is just a mind trick or if I'm catching on to something. I called it from the beginning. I called it from the beginning.
A few moments later.
I did not call that one from the beginning. What the fuck just happened? I did not see that coming at all. I just finished Boyfriend by Frida McFadden and I stand corrected. I was reading this book, like this book is low-key a little boring, like there's not much happening, but that plot twist was very unexpected. I have 8.5 hours left on my timer. I think I'm gonna start another book. It might be a physical book. I think I want to start The Maiden just because that one's on my October TBR and I kind of want to read an October TBR book. My options were actually The Maidens and Anatomy by Dana Schwartz, but I think I'm feeling a more dark academia vibe just because I feel like those give off more spooky vibes. So I'm gonna pick up The Maidens. I think what I'm gonna do for this video is to save time. I'm going to just talk about my thoughts of the books all the way at the end. I'm gonna go start Maidens now. I'm gonna run the clock as much as I can today. It's 12:30 a.m. so it's 30 minutes past midnight. I might be up for like 2 hours maybe. I think I'll try to stick out 2 hours and then I'll finish The Maidens tomorrow. If I have time, I do have another novella that I want to get to, so we'll get to that. It is the next day and I am determined to make this the final day of this 24-hour challenge, readathon, whatever you want to call it. I started reading The Maidens and I was on like page 40 something and I ended up like falling asleep. That's what happened. But then today I continued reading. I just finished part 1. I don't know if it's the fact that the chapters are so short. They're like just a page or two long typically, or like 2 pages front and back is like the most I've encountered for one chapter for this book. I'm really liking it. It's giving all the gothic dark academia feel already. So basically what happened is Mariana lost her husband Sebastian a year ago. I think it was a year and a couple months ago, I think. So she's dealing with this grief and she's also a group therapist. She has a niece who goes to one of the branches of Cambridge and she gets a phone call one day and her niece is like, my best friend died. So Mariana takes the trip back to Cambridge, which is where her and Sebastian had met. Her niece Zoe tells her that she thinks that the professor, Mr. Fosca, or Edward Fosca, has something to do with the murder. And so Mariana is believing so and she's like, all right, I think, like, I know that he is, but the cops are like not doing anything. The cops think it's this drug dealer that killed Tara, who was Zoe's best friend. And so Mariana is taking upon this investigation on herself. So I just finished part 1, which is basically her accepting the fact that she's gonna stay in Cambridge and she's going to help investigate. I'm gonna continue reading. I do want to, so I have about 7 hours left. It is 3. And I think if I just sit here and binge read this book, because it's such a quick read anyways, just because the chapters are so short and the story's moving forward. Like, I feel like sometimes with dark academia books, it's really hard because the story stays so stagnant at points. Some dark academia just info dumps, like random things that don't seem relevant at all. But right now, I feel like the way that this writing is written, the way that this book is written, the way that the story is progressing is very interactive, and so it genuinely just like, okay, like you just want to keep reading and there's no like unnecessary stuff anywhere in the book, in my opinion so far. Yeah, that's my opinion for now. I'm gonna continue reading. Hopefully I can finish this book within the next few hours. Depending on how much time we have, we'll move on to another book. I'm gonna sit here and continue reading and we'll see where today takes us. But we are finishing this video today. You can so easily tell when a book is written by a man because of the way that he describes women. Like, he's talking about these like college students and he's like, literally there's a sentence where he goes, she had a great figure, which she showed off in tight jeans. I don't think women would write that. What the hell is just happening? I just got to part 3. This book is actually really good. I don't trust a single person. I'm a little over halfway to the book. Everyone just has so many things going on, and then there's also these chapters that are like journal entries of someone else and they're talking about how they have like two sides to them. It's still nameless. You don't know who it's about. I think I want to say that I'm like pinpointing 3 people specifically that I think could have been the murderer. I am on part 3. I think there's 6 parts to this book, so I'm like halfway through and I'm really enjoying this. It's a really quick and easy read. Like, I'm just sitting here and somehow I've gotten to page 165. I'm gonna continue reading, so I'll update you guys when I get to part 4. And we'll talk then. Okay, I forgot to film earlier, but I reached part 5 of this book and I don't trust anyone. I think there's like 40-ish pages left. I think I know who's part of like the killers, but like at the end of the day, I'm still sitting here confused and theorizing because there's just so many options. There's so many ways this can go. This is insane, and it's also really addicting to read. This book is doing a really good job at keeping me hooked. Like, I'm just sitting here and paying attention to the book. Yeah, I'm gonna finish this book and then we'll talk after. What? I'm not gonna lie, it was a thought that popped in my head a little bit earlier, but I brushed it aside. Even the facts that were presented to us. That's insane. That's insane. What the hell did I just read? I just finished The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I'm truly taken aback. I don't know what rating I want to give it yet, just because I'm just so baffled. I'm speechless. In my opinion, it was slightly predictable. Like, I saw it coming from the beginning. When the reveal does come, it kind of just hits you, because I think halfway through I was kind of like, the thought was there, but I was like, it can't be. All I will say is this was a fabulous book. I sped through this book. I simply, every time I picked it up, I didn't want to put it down. And there's a lot of foreshadowing. There's a lot of things that you can pick up on if you're paying attention. What I think I want to do is, there is a novella by Emma Rio that I kind of want to start and I kind of want to finish, so I think I can get through that today. I think it's a very short novella, under 200 pages, called Graveyard Shift, and I think it's perfect for this video. I'm gonna load that onto my Kindle and we'll start reading that and we'll see how this goes. Let's wrap up this video. So as you guys saw last night, I ended up falling asleep while reading the novella that I planned to read, and the timer just kept running. And then when it rang, it woke me up. Whatever, we're just gonna let it pass. We ended up reading 3 books within the 24-hour time slot, and I think that's pretty decent. That's what I did last time. And honestly, I was hoping for 3 books anyways, and if I did read the 4th, it would have just been a novella, so it would have been like a half book. I do want to finish up the novella, but while I was reading it last night, I felt like I just like couldn't even process it. So I think it's better the way that it is now, because I fully got to enjoy the 3 books that I read. Now, let's talk. First and foremost, I read Phantasma. I ended up giving Phantasma 4.5 stars. So it was so close to being a 5-star, but there were just parts of the book that I found a tiny bit cringy. It seemed a tad bit predictable as well, but despite that, I still very much enjoyed the book. The book was so easy to run through. I sat down, I read the whole thing as quick as I could. Then we moved on to The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. Unsurprisingly, was such an easy read because Frida McFadden books are so easy to fly through, and I also very much enjoyed that one, and I gave it, let me see what I put on Goodreads because I don't remember, 4 stars out of 5. Not predictable at all. That plot twist hit me by surprise. I could have honestly put it out of 4.5. I finished the book and I was like, this is a 4-star book, like solid 4-star. Throughout the first 50% of the book, I just felt like it kind of dragged on. Like, there was not much happening. I understand that it was all the backstory, but it felt like there was a few parts that kind of didn't really need to be there. But other than that, enjoyed the book. Plot twist hit me, did not see it coming, thought I knew what was going on. I had a billion theories in my head. Turned out none of them were right. Moving on from The Boyfriend, we ended up reading The Maidens, which lovingly was also on my October TBR, so I flew through this book. I did not want to put it down. Every time I picked it up, I was like, this is insanely good. I need to keep reading it. I need to keep reading it. I ended up giving The Maidens a 4-star as well. The reason for that is because the plot twist did not hit me. Halfway through, I kind of figured it out already, but I was just thinking, okay, it's not gonna go that far. Like, I wish there was more in the ending, that it kind of left it very open-ended. I wish that there was more to tie in everything. It's a typical whodunit mystery. All in all, I think this was a very successful 24-hour reading challenge. You eventually want to try doing one where I pull an all-nighter, but I need to figure out a good weekend for that. I think that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed and hope you guys stick around for more. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!